Alright, so I'm going to be doing a review on the First Order Special Forces TIE Fighter. So, this set released in 2015 for a retail price of $70 and retired in 2016. And if you want the set new, sealed in the box, it's only going to cost you about $88. And this has set number 75010, 517 pieces, 4 minifigures, and an age range of 8 to 14 years. In the set, we do get 2 First Order TIE pilots, and they are decent figures. First off, I am a pretty big fan of this helmet mold. I think it looks pretty good, and I especially love the actual rubber tube. I think that looks really good, and I think that LEGO should actually give a physical rubber tube on the normal TIE pilots. And the print on the helmet is decent. It's nothing special. It's just the basic detailing. And the print on the torso are pretty good. And the printing on the legs are also pretty good. And they do have decent back prints. And luckily, with these helmets, the back of their heads don't show nearly as much as normal TIE pilots. You can still see a bit, but it's not nearly as bad. And both of them just have the regular Angry Clone head. We also get this First Order crew member. And, I mean, it's a fine figure. Sadly, he doesn't have any leg printing, which is a bit disappointing. And the print on his torso doesn't look bad, it's just very simple. But I do like this whole mold for their helmet. I think that looks pretty good. And they actually do have a somewhat unique face, which wasn't too common in 2015. And their back print also is really simple. And finally, we get this First Order officer. And it's a pretty good figure. I do like the print on the torso. I think that looks pretty good. I do like the belt and those little pin things. But sadly, he just uses regular gray legs, which I definitely wish were dual molded. And he does actually include this pretty nice hat piece. It looks decent. There is a bit of printing just for the little brim and a First Order logo. And his face print is decent. And he does actually have printed eyebrows, but they're just going to be covered up by the hat. And this is his back print. Overall, this is a pretty good minifigure selection. All the figures were done pretty well. I don't really have any major complaints about any of them, just except that they're not really that interesting. None of the figures really stand out much, and generally, with most TIE fighters, the figures just aren't that interesting. And I feel like with this set, it would be pretty cool if LEGO also included a Finn and Poe, just so that kids could reenact the scene where they both escape the ship on a First Order TIE Fighter. And then they could, of course, still include 2 normal TIE Fighter pilots. Alright, so while the sequel movies sucked, a lot of the vehicle designs in them were pretty cool. Except this. I don't know what they were trying to do there. But I don't know, I kind of like the color scheme of the First Order TIE Fighter. I just really like the black and red color scheme. But first up on the wings, they do look pretty good. The coloring is actually inverted compared to a normal TIE Fighter, which is actually pretty cool. And the actual structure of them is pretty nice. I definitely like the whole black outline. I just think that they look good in general. But one very, very minor complaint I have is right here, you can see just a bit of red poking out. And that's just because with tiles, they have a very slight groove under them. So you could kind of see that red. So I kind of at least wish that they made that gray instead. So for the main body. First up, I do like this red detailing. I think it looks pretty cool. And I also really like how they connected the main body to the actual wings. I do like the whole little bridge thing. And also this little bit at the end. And the whole build is essentially symmetrical. The only real difference is just the red, which is only coloring, and that little antenna thing. And you can, of course, put your TIE pilots in. So all you gotta do is lift this down and open that up. And first off, as you can see, there isn't any bricks or anything holding them down. It's all tile. And I also kind of wish that they covered up a bit of that Technic beam. I don't know, I feel like they could have at least put a towel or something, just so that it didn't look that out of place. And you can, of course, put in your TIE pellet, just like this, and you could try to make them grab onto this whole little thing, but that would probably be pretty difficult. And one thing, I guess, is even though they're not attached by any tile, if you push this whole thing up as close to them as possible, it kind of holds them in place. And there were actually 2 tie pellets included in the set, and that's because you can put the other one in the back. And first off, I do like this whole design for the actual back of the ship. I think it looks pretty good. And to put in the tie pallet, it is essentially the same, just like that. And you can, of course, close it up. And it is a bit hard to see on camera, but technically, the whole little windshield right there isn't actually at the pilot's eye level. It's slightly below, which is a bit annoying. And there are, of course, 2 spring-loaded shooters. They're just those ones right there in the front. And you, of course, fire just by pushing in the back. Pretty simple. And the back of the TIE Fighter, I feel like was done pretty well. I don't really have any major complaints about it, but I think it looks pretty good. Sadly, with the set, there isn't really a spot to put the TIE Pilot's weapons, but I did find one, but it wasn't really intentional. And that's because there is this whole little Technic beam going across, and as you can see, there are holes in the studs. And you can put the blasters in just like that, but it is pretty difficult to actually put them in there. And this was not intentional. First up, sorry, I did not have 2 of these poster boards. But the ship is very swooshable. And it's pretty simple where you hold it. It's just right here at the back. And you can either grab down or grab just like that. And I mean, it is very swooshable. You can fly it around pretty easily. And luckily, the wings are actually attached very well, so they're not going to pop off very easily. So, would I recommend that you get this set? I'm not 100% sure. And hey, it's not a bad set. I mean, it's a great build. I think it looks very nice. I love the color scheme. And I just like the design of the First Order TIE Fighter in general. It's just, I feel like with a lot of people, this set could be a bit of a detractor, just because, you know, it's a sequel set, and the sequels were kind of stinky. But I mean, it's a pretty good set. The price isn't bad. I mean, sure, $88 is a decent amount. But, I mean, if you buy it, you're probably not going to be very disappointed. So I would give the set about an 8.5 out of 10.